Travis Wayne Goodsell. Alright, Samson video. So first, as is typical, I do an introduction that will lead into the subject of Samson. So, an additional one to add to the introduction here was while I was trying to counteract the religious hate, bullying, harassment, cyber terrorism of YouTube, the Mormon employee. I saw a recommended video by Women and Priesthood, and then there's another channel with her, Thoughtful Faith. Weird. It's the same woman who's attacking Julie Hanks. And those of you who've been watching my videos lately, specifically about the one where all Mormons are involved in prostitution and sex trafficking, yes, this has to do with Samson. Julie is a Diazevedo, another daughter. And the woman who's obsessed with Julie to attack and bash her and humiliate her is leave me alone, Windows. Leave me alone. Let me do it how I want it to be done. She, on Thoughtful Faith, which was 2 months ago, she has Julie Hanks versus the church? Question mark? Yet another shocking interview. A Woman's Perspective. Ask Dr. Julie Hanks podcast. She's a psycho. I led right into that joke, and I just realized I led right into that joke. Psychologist. The woman's other video, and I have no idea who she is. I don't see her name. But the other video on Woman and Priesthood, Women and Priesthood, why do Julie Hanks followers leave the church? Question mark. Correlation or causation? Well, when you're dealing with Mormon women, they're easily offended. Just like you. And in the church, when Mormons disagree with you, they walk out. And so likewise, on my channel, women do not come to my videos. They avoid it, in comparison with the members of the 70 of the committee that spies on people to hurt them and murder them and steal from them. Strengthening Church Members Committee. I mean, you'd think now that I've exposed them, they'd stop. No. Bullies never stop unless they are forced to stop. They think they're in the right. They don't give a damn about anybody else. Just like Christians and the Jews. Come to that hate comment. And so, why her fans leave the church? Receipts. Receipts. Are you sure they're not evidence? Because receipts means a money transaction. Don't listen to Fox News. They're redefining words. I've got receipts of the church's committees, orders by the First Presidency and board of directors to murder me. That's financial transaction receipts. That's what you use in a court of law, assuming the judges are not prostituting their wives and sex trafficking them in the federal judiciary. And so I have no idea what is going on with that, but because she's a psychologist, I know exactly what's going on. It's real easy. And I don't know if she brings up Natasha Helfer from 2021. I'm sure she must know of it, but Natasha Helfer was similar to Julie Hanks. But Natasha Helfer, for the weirdest reason that nobody is able to explain, why did Natasha Helfer merge real science of medicine with the fraud of psychology? We may never know. We may never know. So the church excommunicated and fired Natasha Helfer. And so Julie Hanks, being a de Azevedo, has to be all in for the church. Masturbation is evil. Porn is evil. And so I've got some porn pics of her. We better write that down. Because that's not going to be the thumbnail picture. It's going to be a side joke. She's there to reinforce the church's doctrines superimposed on a fraudulent field of study and a criminal field of business in which the fruits of psychology are being more than manifested just this year alone, with all of the psychologists who are getting locked up in prison and the centers are getting shut down, and total chaos and pandemonium as the church and the news under the church's threats are desperately trying to continue to promote psychology. There's a disconnect, and people aren't making this connection. And so when you're abusing women specifically, because women are more susceptible to psychology because they use emotivism to mess with people's emotions, just like bullies do. That's what psychologists do. They're bullies. And so to not get into this, to focus on Samson, she, as a Mormon, is being prostituted. But because she has a business as a psychologist, her husband, Brother Hanks, is also being prostituted. That was the Roman additional practice to the Greek practice of women prostituted in the temples. See how I can tie it all together. Okay? And so, yeah, I'm currently watching Heroes. Had to repurchase season 1 to upgrade the quality. And I can instantly see the psychological abuse by the writers. very blatantly obvious. And then I just saw the episode the other day where the psychologist talks to Allie Larder. The Jessica versus Ricky. Or Nikki, I guess. And so, yeah, I'm going, yeah, now they introduce the psychologist. But if you know the show, you know the episode, you really need to leave now. You don't want Nikki to come out. Or Jessica, yeah, that's the sister who died. It looks like a classic case of multi-personality disorder. No, it's not. And the scriptwriters suck at their jobs because of this. If they really wanted to present the two characters as distinct, they should have written a different linguistic text for them to do. And they didn't. Nikki and Jessica have the exact same linguistic pattern of Allie Larder. They botched it. She does not have a multi-personality disorder. She's faking it. She's acting. Wait a minute, she is acting. Anyway, not this one yet. All right. So I warned this guy, and he doesn't want to believe. I told him he was stalking me to try to turn me Christian, and he was overprotective, or what's it called? He protested too much, tried to guilt trip me about it, and then boom, there's the fruit. Why do Mormons persecute their own religious leaders? Dr. Do. He claims to be a religious leader himself of Christianity, the Do Nothing Church, something like that. And he starts off, Shalom. Oh, Jewish for peace. Jeru. Shalom. And so, well, okay, he's learning. I appreciate you. Get the bleep out of here with that psycho stuff. I don't want to be appreciated. I want you to do what Stanford did in his comment. Then he says, don't agree with all you speak on. I don't care if you disagree. You're wrong. I am talking about subject matter you know nothing of. And so, you disagreeing, you need to learn, like Stanford is. But I can relate to you? Get the hell out of here with your psychobabble. And here's where he got banned. He could not learn. He did not get it. He lied to me. Merry Christmas and stay warm. What's the worst thing you can say and do for a Jew? Tell him Merry Christmas and take him to the Vatican Temple and show him the ginormous statue of Jesus. Right, Elder Suarez? It was Suarez, wasn't it? Dear God. This is Christian hate. They do not get it. They don't want to get it. They don't want to learn the truth. And so they are born into hate and they die in hate. And in the Mormon church, where do haters go when they're finally judged and get placed in an afterlife? Yeah, right along with Hitler. There's some South Park episodes about that, as well as Little Nicky. Adam Sandler. And so he's gone. See, I know the fruit of what he had initially spoken, of the seed. And so I gave him a chance to repent, replaced his seed that was wrong, and he was in denial at first, but I still gave him a chance, and he blew it. He's gone. You have to watch my videos not signed in now. You're full of hate, Dr. Do. And he was a former Mormon who left the church and became Christian. It's like Mormons who leave don't get it. You didn't bother to check and test for the Jews. And so, should we do Grant or Stanford? Stanford's on the same video as Dr. Do, which is an awesome contrast. Perfect timing, Stanford, even though you were earlier. And so Stanford is learning from that video. Evil is not logical. Evil is just full of hate, as he quotes me. Bedrock true. See how he doesn't say, I appreciate you? I can relate to you. He says, bedrock true. Stanford gets it. I've been compelled. See, that's testimony. Stanford has getting testimony, line upon line, precept upon precept. I've been compelled to go back to non-Mormon Christian friends to tell them they were correct all along, that I was not a Christian because I was Mormon. I was actually talking about how Christians were saying I was of the devil, worshiping Satan. I had debated that point, arguing the point, who decides who is and who is not Christian? It was later that I studied the origins of the Roman Catholic Church and couldn't square where it left me when I read that the book was in the learning of the Jews, Book of Mormon. Even the Bible, he just says the book. I cannot be a Christian. I intellectually left the church 30 plus years ago. I knew it was vacant of truth. Then what? You didn't become Christian? Then pursue the learning of the Jews, bathed in Egyptian culture and worldview. You are the only refuge I have found for help resolving the existence of truth. I don't understand why evil invites and lives by the rule of irrationality. I've never understood that. Why persecute me for wanting to discover and know what holds fidelity to reality? Thanks, Travis. So, on the video with the pretty picture, all Mormons think they are wise virgins, yet have no oil for Hanukkah. Brilliant move to make this next. Grant, who comes this one video only. For the first time, he's got a picture of him as a little boy. YouTube requires you to be over 18. You know, some people put their kids' pictures on and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe he's over 18 and he just looks young. He says, I don't know if I understand your point exactly. That's far better than saying I appreciate you. So Grant is being given a second chance to hear this video. Or others. And see if he can do better than Dr. Do did. But we have a lot more events to come before this will happen. See? He's being given a second chance. There are only 4 remaining events for the religion part, Grant. Government part's already well on its way. Namely, the gathering of Israel. Yep, that's one of them. That's number 3. 1, 2, 3. The Exodus. The keys of Moses. 2 prophets to appear in Jerusalem. Nope, that's the Christianized, Mormonized version of the Jewish prophecy of Joseph Smith and Hiram getting assassinated and then being resurrected through the Mormon who would be Messiah ben David of the latter days. The Euphrates River drying. Nope, again, you're taking it literal history as the first creed of Christianity told you to do. That is Moses parting the waters for Mormons to pass through on dry ground to head to Zion. That happened in 2020. You missed it. I've been showing you the pictures. It should be in that video. I made an upgraded picture of that so that I could have the first and the last years of the latter days with 2020's big event. And I can go on, I'm sure you can, from Mormon myth and miseducation and lies and hate. The man of lawlessness and the Antichrist, they're one and the same. And yep, he's here. You've been deceived by him because you didn't run the tests. Must also be revealed first. He actually took power after the man like Moses began his ministry to you. That's where we get into Samson. That's why this is brilliant to do this now. We must be ready as always. Yeah, well, the latter days are over with. We're waiting for the final 4. Alright. So, Samson. Baby name meaning is wrong when you Google search it. They say son or son-child. Wrong. They didn't decipher Paleo-Hebrew. I did. Shemesh is son. Yes, that's correct. But there's an N at the end as a suffix determinative for king for persons, for kingdom for places. So Samson, as a name of a person, is Son King. Why Son King? Because the name of the man like Moses is Emmanuel. Amen, El, God, Amen, Amen of the 18th dynasty Egyptians, the sun god at noonday. This is what all the Jews are talking about. Alrighty. So Samson is a story covered in the book of Judges. And the oldest versions are from the Septuagint, which was around 400 CE. So that's post-Constantine. But despite this, The Jews still utilized it in their Hebrew text, but their oldest Hebrew text is only from 900 CE. So the Greek text is older than the Hebrew text that we can find. It was not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But there were lots that were missing, and there are obviously going to be more that could be found if they were preserved. But nonetheless, this is what you have to do when you're doing research, is make sure that there is no Christianity imposed. Like the document of the book of Pontius Pilate. It's also Nicodemus or something like that. That is a Christian one. And so you have to be very careful when you go over it that they're purposely writing it as literal history, because it's after the creation of Christianity in the first creed, the Nicene Creed. And so this is a Christian document. But Judges may not be, but you gotta check and be careful. And one of the other things is to know about the reason for the season that I've been going over with you. There's a reason why we're talking about Samson today. All this month, the same topics, going over the same things. This is the month of Kislev, the 10th month of the year. And this is December 2024. And in both biblical and historical events, there are ties to the month of Kislev. And so you need to understand that biblical is not historical, because they were turned historical by Christianity in the first creed. That's why the Thule commandments thing is so abominable by Mormons, to indoctrinate the kids even further with the Mormon lies. Because we're not Christian, we're Jewish. And Mormons don't care. They're Christian because the prophets tell them they're Christian. You didn't run the tests on the prophets. They're lying to you. Therefore, they're false prophets posing as lambs in wolves and lambs' clothing. They're producing corrupt fruits. All wrong, abominable, corrupt. It's blatantly obvious for anybody who can read. And now you're teaching kids to ignore what they read. And yesterday I saw the news in which Utah kids are not improving. Our kids are being raised up dumb. And now this Thule thing is going to make it worse. There are consequences. So anyway, on the 16th of December, or should I just use the Kislev dates? It's one above for each one of the Kislev dates. So the 15th of Kislev is the 16th of December. Okay? On the 15th of Kislev is the historical event that the school kids will not be taught in Thule of the abomination of desolation by the Greeks to the Jerusalem temple. Shalom. This was in 167 BCE. The Greeks came in, conquered, and occupied the Jerusalem temple, destroying the altar. And then 10 days later, on the 25th of Kislev, they began to offer on their new altar built pig sacrifices and female prostitution. Romans added male prostitution. That's why the Julie Hanks joke. And so linguistically, to do research about documents like Samson, which the oldest document is the Greek, which is post-Constantine, using linguistic identifiers of when actual historical events began is crucial in dating a document. You can't just assume that Samson is a literal history document because you're using the Constantine bias of the Nicene Creed. You're wrong. Samson is not a historical document. But the Greeks are historical. They did conquer Jerusalem. They did occupy the Jerusalem temple and replace the altar and began prostitution in it. Thus, Mary, Parthenon, is a temple prostitute. But because of Christianity not giving a damn about translator, sort of like the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Did you ever listen? Did you ever pay attention? No. You were on vacation, huh? And so on the 20th, this is the biblical prophecy of Ezra and his sermon, Ezra 9, about no prostitution with the Greeks. And yes, it doesn't make any sense if you turn him literal history. But when you understand this was a Dead Sea Scroll document, oh, got it. On the 21st, and this ties directly, not indirectly, with Samson. This is a historical event that happened. 128 BCE, the Danite temple of Mount Ephraim is destroyed by the Jews. The Maccabean revolt continued. And so this is Shechem, where Joshua came, set up the temple. And so yes, I had Paul who had contacted me and emailed me and talked about this. Yeah, I'm aware. Good to hear from you. I'm just frustrated that we're not having any sprouts about the Final Four. And it's also where Dinah got raped by the Shechemites. And it's also involved in other things as well, like Ezra, for example. And so 164 BCE, on the 25th of Kislev, which for the Jews, evening starts on the evening starts the next day. And so I have to remember, because of something that came to me this morning, to add to the 77, if anybody remembers that from earlier this year, in which Hanukkah is first celebrated, because the Maccabean revolt, 164 BCE, set in order the temple. Section 85, verse 7. The one mighty and strong, the man like Moses, the Jewish Christ, who is a Mormon, after Messiah ben Joseph, who is Joseph Smith, Jr. That's the Jewish concept of a Christ. It is full-on hate abuse to tell a Jew Jesus is the Christ. Mormons. To tell Mormons that Jesus is the Christ. Because your Christ is a Mormon, not Jesus. So it's even worse with Brigham Young and his abomination insurrecting Joseph Smith. And you never check, you never test. The prophets order it, and you obey out of fear. And you go around and you spread your hate and your abuse. And the Strengthening Church Members Committee threatening you under orders of the prophets. And thus, this church is the great and abominable church of desolation, having destroyed Joseph Smith's temple rituals with underwear and covenant paths of bondage and blood oath covenants and prostitution. And not just the Greek one, which is what Brigham wanted it to be, but as women are rebellious, church said, fine, we'll institute the Roman practice of prostitution too. You want it, you got it. So the 27th of Kislev is when Noah's Ark landed on the Danite Mount Ephraim. There's a big difference between the Samaritans and the modern Jews. And with the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith talking to us about being of Ephraim, of the house of Israel, you've got to be very careful not to go all in on Orthodox Judaism, because they've been deceived by Roman Emperor Constantine. So the final four, the fall of the great and abominable church. As the fall of America happened, we're now fascist. Transfer of authority, traditionally happened. January 20th is officially when the transfer is official and final. But when Trump went to the White House and shook Biden's hand, that was the transfer of authority. And Biden is now lame duck. And so, time to bring up the scriptures, I guess. And so then the Exodus, which for the government is mass deportation. And like I warned you, and here it is, he's now talking about it. This is what he does. He throws stuff out there. They're extremist. And it is to, cause the sensitive snowflakes to panic. But he sees what he can get away with. And if there's too much of a pushback, he'll go to the next he'll go to the next extremist view. So old Gates, that was too extreme, can't handle him. So he goes to the one who owes him a favor, though. This is what he does. All you had to do was pay attention, be a real follower of Trump, read his books, listen to him in his rallies. When he tells you about the snake and the little girl, he's telling you, I'm the snake. You knew when you picked me up who I am. You knew when you voted for me who I am. And nobody gets it. Nobody cares to get it. Everybody gets angry and violent with anybody who points it out to them. And then when the consequences happen, they go, oh no, now I know that Trump was bad. Well, Mia Love, you showed Trump no love. You're out. Now you have to hide because he's going to deport you to Haiti now. And Governor Cox is going to personally do it, apparently. He's going to come knocking on your door. Sister Love, hello, Sister Love, it's Brother Cox. I'm here to take you to the airport for your permanent vacation. Sister Love. So, it is because of Christianity that the books of the Old Testament are called the Old Testament, but put in the order that they're put in, because they're trying to claim it's literal history. You can't do that. You got to mix them all up again. And so Judges is not during the time after Israelites get into the promised land under Jesus. No. Because the sea people were way back in 1300. And that's when you claim that's when Moses left. You're screwing it up when you're calling it literal history. God, unbelievable. Huggable, squeezable, lovable, unbelievable. All right, so chapter 13. Oh no, we need to do Acts first. See, I knew I needed to refer. So Acts is what Joseph Smith tells you to go to, rather than Deuteronomy 18:15, because there's something precisely as it stands in the New Testament that he quotes wrong. And he's testing you to see if you're going to actually check it or not. And oops, you didn't. And so after that, he then says, all the prophets from Samuel. Not Adam, not Noah, not Enoch, not Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Samuel. Do not put it in chronological order. And those that follow after, as many as have spoken, have likewise foretold, prophesied, of these days. What days? The latter days. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Joseph Smith says he's Mormon. He'll be raised up unto Mormons, your brethren. And you need to hear him, or you'll be precisely as it stands in our New Testament. And it came to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet, who will be a Mormon, Mormons who will not hear their prophet, the Christ, and the Jews, not Nelson, you didn't run the test, Nelson's false, shall be destroyed, not cut off from among the people. It's kind of important to your eternal salvation and your physical life. And so this is why it's so sickening that Mormons are in denialism land, that they continue to spread the lies that are going to lead to their destruction. And Mormons don't care, Mormons don't believe it, Mormons are in denial, and they spread the hate and the lies of Christianity, Jesus, of Mormonism, just like Christians do. Yea, all the prophets from Samuel. So who was Samuel? Well, for the Feast of Tabernacles, I was up at 1 a.m. every single morning. And after the fourth time, being up at 1, I then did that video for you. And sure enough, 4 times. On the 4th time, he then says, "What do you want?" And so I do the video for you on the 4th day. Samuel means name of God. What is the name of God? Emmanuel, sun god at noonday, sun king. In the story prophecy of Samuel, you have Samuel who becomes the temple president to set in order the temple, because Eli is a naughty false temple president. Eli means God. He's a false god. And his sons are having Roman period prostitution in the temple, in the wrong room of the temple. Thus, the great and abominable Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because it's a prophecy of the latter days. And so Samuel, then in other stories, is the one who sets up Saul to be the first king of Jerusalem. Not Solomon? It's a Jewish joke. Solemn, shalom, peace. Salem, Jerusalem. And at the end is king, or kingdom, the kingdom of Jerusalem, as Solomon, or the king of Jerusalem, Salem. That's what originally was called. It was later called Jerusalem. Originally, with the original first inhabitants, it was Salem for peace, at the top of the mountain. I've gone over with you how King David Moses III came to kick out the Hittites and did battle at Har Megiddo. And then in the midst of the war, put his foot on the Mount of Salem. He went on vacation. See, Grant, you're way behind. You've been misinformed. And so, after his visit, after pushing back the Hittites, the people of Salem then built a temple to the house of David Moses, the 18th dynasty of Egypt, and built a palace for their tributary king to Egypt. And as is the culture, see that book right there that I covered for you yesterday? Was it yesterday? Manners and Customs of the Bible. When a king comes to your town, it is customary for the leader, tribal leader, to give his daughter as a bride to the king. And this solidifies the two tribes, as the tribal leader is now tributary to the king, but by giving his daughter, the child born through them would be heir to the throne of all Egypt. But at very least, the son could be the heir to the throne of Jerusalem, Salem, in this particular case. And thus, if the birthright blessing wife does not produce a son, then the rank order of the other wives of the tributary kings have the opportunity to have their child be the succeeding King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the great high priest. Whereas otherwise, they go back to their land to be the king of that tributary. And so that's what's important to understand about Samuel. Understand the history, but know that it is not history, that it's prophesying of the latter days. That the man like Moses of Mormons is to take over as King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the great high priest. Okay? And so Solomon, being born of David, is just another story put in. It's not literal history. You don't get to a literal history actual king until the northern tribes of Israel, prior to their conquering by Assyria, pre-700 BCE. That's the oldest that we can find of a king. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was pre-700 BCE, before Assyria came in. But beyond that, it's unclear. And thus why the Qumran community would write the Kings and Chronicles stories, Samuel as the Septuagint altered it, to add the prophecies first and then get into historical stuff. So when Babylon came and there's that discussion back and forth, yeah, that was taken directly off of the walls of Nineveh. That was a historical event that occurred, and they put it in the document, in what became the Bible by Christians. And so it's important to know which ones are literal history and how prophecies are intermingled in there. Okay? And so, I almost forgot. So, yeah, at 1 a.m., it's 7 a.m., because the Jews start at 6 p.m. So at 1 is the 7th hour. 7. 2 sets of 7. 77. Twice. And thus refers to the dreams that I've been having, all setting up for this year. Alright, so Samson I'm doing for you, not because it's also part of this month that needs to be understood, as we're waiting for the fall, the final 4. But also because Samson is basic Hebrew learning 101, whether people know it or not. And they don't. But it's easy for me to teach you. So Revelation chapter 12 in the Joseph Smith translation, verse 1. We have added, in the likeness of things on the earth. There appeared a great sign in heaven, in the likeness of things on the earth. And that's why I did my Oaks video from Sunday, showing you the sign in the heavens of the likeness of things on the earth, which was Oaks with the First Presidency devotional. That's how it works. Real simple. Not a single Mormon should be upset, but every Mormon should be upset that they're in the wrong church, and that they need to look for their Christ. Oaks exposed himself as abominable. All wrong, abominable, and corrupt. And Mormons didn't run the test because Mormons don't believe Joseph Smith. This is prophecy and revelation, the time of the prophecy to be fulfilled. All prophecies must have revelation contained within them. Otherwise, how are we going to know if the prophecy has been fulfilled or not? And then you get people who try to pull the fallacy of self-fulfilling prophecies, like psychologists, to bully you, to get you to believe their self-fulfilling prophecy and get you to fulfill it for them. And then the psychologist goes, oh, it wasn't me, it was you. But you brainwashed them to believe they are. You bullied them. So anyway, and so this is needed to understand Samson. It is prophecy. And as prophecy, it must have times for the fulfillment of the prophecy. And he's the Sun King. Blatantly obvious. Solar eclipses are days and hours, and locations on Earth where they are to occur. And it's all about he who is from the crossroads of the Wagoner sun god at noonday. They give you his full 3-name name. You need to understand, the Egyptians knew this too. We're talking pre 6000 BCE. Pre many millennia before 6000 BCE, they knew I would have 3 names. That's how incredibly, brilliantly awesome these Jewish prophets and Egyptian prophets were, and how far back they knew. It's just astounding, mind-boggling. And Mormons are still waiting for Jesus, are you? Okay? And so, chapter 12, verse 1, 2, and 5, which gets moved to verse 3 in the Joseph Smith translation, 23rd September 2017. Blatantly obvious. That's why it almost didn't get put in the Christian scriptures. So Judges 13. It is not Danites. That's a different name. It's in verse 2, which is weird. Why couldn't the Jews use Danites for judges? They use another one. But yes, Danites. Again, the brilliance of the Egyptians and the Jews to prophesy accurately, for Judah to be phonetically the same as Utah, and then to have Joseph Smith say, yeah, obviously Mormons, it's you guys in the future. Brigham Young is going to steal my church, turn it Christian, pollute the temple, start prostitution, and move to a place that will be called by the United States of America, Utah. Danites on Mount Ephraim. And you diminish the prophets and Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon when you turn them literal history. Joseph Smith is not this great and mighty seer, revelator, prophet, and translator anymore. You've diminished him. This church diminishes Joseph Smith. And it was Oaks who condemned people at BYU for humanizing Joseph Smith. Dear God. Oakes is just full of beaming mouths, calling little girls pornography when he is now in the Quorum of the 12 as the first counselor enforcing prostitution upon Mormons. Both the Greek and the Roman versions. Alright, so we start off. And the children of Israel, okay, we're at 1 hour, aren't we? And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. So this is actually pre-Judges. The Philistines were the sea people of 1300. So we're 200 years after the Jews settled on Mount Salem. And so yes, the house of Israel does not fit into this context. It's not chronological, it's not historical. They're prophecies. You gotta treat them as separate prophecy books. Do not put them in a chronological order. And so section 103 verse 16-17 helps you understand that the leaders of this church are the antagonist leaders. The false Christ, the Antichrist, that Grant didn't understand. That the Mormon is the man like Moses. So in this story of Samson, Samson is the Mormon of the future. And yeah, it's me. Did you run the test? I had to. But it wasn't really hard, because when I go over it, I'm going, oh, wow, yeah, been there, done that. Crap, wow. It's me. How did they know? And then, got sidetracked. Oh, yeah, Mormons are the house of Israel. And so this story is a little bit more complicated because he gets involved with the Philistines. The Philistines are you. Because the children of Joseph Smith, the Mormons under Joseph Smith, did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hands of Brigham Young as Danites of Mount Ephraim. So there was a certain Mormon of Zorah of the family of the Danites. And technically it was my mom. Through my mom's family. The Earsleys go back to the Danites. Whose name was Manoah. The M is added to Noah. That is actually Noah. The H is not an H, it's the Bach H, which is the same as Noah, the Bach H. And his wife was barren. Hey, there's a pattern for the prostitution thing. Temple prostitution. He's using Philistines who did not practice temple prostitution. Using the Greek imposed over the Philistines. And so yes, this is a virgin who's not had a child. And she's going to bear a child. And he's going to be the Sun King. Same pattern as Mary, the mother of Jesus. And so here's the messenger, Malachi. And Malachi of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Sun King here. Okay? It's the same guy. Just a different author telling a different story, but the same prophecies, same revelations of the same guy. And so Matthew says, in the days of Noah, so it shall be in the latter days. Manoah. There's a connection to that. So we'll do a skip over since we're over an hour. And the woman bare a son, and called his name Son King. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. He does not do the same stunt that the Genesis author did. That when a child is born, he is given a name, and the name is defined within the same sentence for the most part. And it's very clear what the definition of the name is, because the name definition is contained within the name itself. So Samson, Shemesh, son, and suffix determinative for king. Israel, it does not let God prevail. That just shows that you are not a translator. Israel is Yah, Prince of God. Oh, it's right there in the sentence. And the BYU professors in Hebrew oh my God. You utterly humiliated Nelson, and I'm surprised he didn't have you burned at the stake. Okay? And so they used 23rd September 2017 from Isaiah. But he's an actual human. He's an actual Mormon. He'll have an actual birth date. And so, Matthew explains the dualism. That yes, 23rd September 2017 is correct for the start of his ministry to Mormons. But the star in the east also applies not only to the last year of the latter days. Where did that solar eclipse take place? But also for his birth 10 days before. The sign of his coming, the solar eclipse, occurred on the east coast of the United States. And who was the president? Well, he was brand new. Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. Also a descendant of Hiram, through whom the prophesied Messiah ben David would come. But he's the false Christ. He has no authority to lead the church. And so, soon thereafter, was the birth of the one true Mormon, who had already been conceived in the summer of '69. Okay? The Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan. He's a Danite. Hilarious. Hilarious. And so Samson went down to Timnath, saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines, Danites. See what they're doing here? This is the prophecy. He will marry a Mormon girl of the great and abominable church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And this is interesting because it needs to be flipped, just like Joseph Smith moved verse 5 to verse 3 in Revelation 12. This wife is actually the second wife, Delilah. But the second wife also cut my hair and betrayed me to the Philistines. But this first wife was taken away from me by her father. But the second wife is the one who we were sealed in the Philistine temple, room number 13, and had our wedding supper feast at the lion house next to the beehive house. It's weird. And so, yes, as the Sun King, deaths are the revelation date. Plus giving you the sign in the heavens of where the solar eclipse takes place. Lion, Leo. The solar eclipse is to occur in Leo. And because he's the Sun King, you're looking for a solar eclipse in Leo at the star Regulus, the King star. Okay? Simple. Basic 101 prophecy and revelation interpretation of the Jews. See, the Jews wrote this, the Jews understood this. Regular common folk Jews didn't have the ability to know the dates, so it was eventually lost, especially after Constantine. But nonetheless, so 21st of August 2017, right before the Isaiah, woman shall conceive and bear a child and shall call his name Emmanuel. 23rd of September 2017. It's the same first year. And so, what is missing from here is the king, who would be both king and high priest, but it's understood as the Philistine king. Because Isaiah refers to what Revelation 12, verse 5 talks about. I saw God sitting upon his throne. That's in chapter 6, verse 1 of Isaiah. And so that needs to be included with chapter 7, as the Isaiah scroll is all one scroll. There is no chapters and verses. And so, the Book of Mormon, likewise, telling us that that first year when Zedekiah was on the throne, that's 2017. Because Lehi's dream is from Revelation 12, 1-3 in the Joseph Smith translation. 23rd September 2017, right there at the beginning of the Book of Mormon. They are prophesying to us in the Book of Mormon. Retelling the stories. Nephi, Lehi, Alma, Mosiah, especially Mosiah, Moses Yah. Ammon, Mormon, Moroni, all are the man like Moses, the Christ, depending on the story. They're all prophecies of your Mormon Christ. You are the Lamanites, or the Nephites, or the Zoramites, or the Amlicites, depending on the story prophecy. Okay? Book of Mormon is not literal history. You're imposing Constantine's first creed to turn it literal history, and now you've got problems. And you don't care. And so, a death is a solar eclipse. This was well understood by the ancients, the Egyptians. And so likewise the Assyrians and the Babylonians, everybody knew. And I've been doing the videos with the pictures for you. Each of the ones that are over the United States from Samson are the same as the sign given in Isaiah. I give unto you a sign. A woman shall conceive, virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Notice how Matthew does not quote the sign part, but gives you 23rd September 2017, but then talks about the star in the east, which is the last of the 3 days of darkness, sign solar eclipse, on the last year that we had, 8 April 2024, as well as the sign of his birth in the east. So Matthew is trying to divide them up for you, to give you both. And so here, this is the latter days. Even though the marriage supper feast was October 1st, 2015, to the second one, but who was in room number 13, the Philistine temple. And Bruce Armour Conkey does not want you to know that Samson takes down the great and abominable church's temple. He wants you to think it's literal history. And so this first wife keeps trying to get him to reveal who he is, which was the second wife. The first wife said her kids will not learn Hebrew. Okay. And so the riddle is the 21st of August, 2017. His coming, the first year of his coming, to start his ministry to Mormons to save them from the great and abominable church. And so then we have another death that occurs in which Samson caught 300 foxes. Baby name meaning? Todd. Fox News. Guess when this occurred? Right, Todd. Turned tail to tail, put a firebrand in between the midst of the two tails. Pisces. Two fishes have their streams that cross. That's where it occurred. Solar eclipse over Australia, 2023. When both Fox News got sued and lost, and Rupert Murdoch is now struggling to try to keep his family from gaining his inheritance. And my brother attacked me because of that committee ordered by the prophets to hurt me and shut me up on my birthday. Both of them. The two tales of Todd Foxes. Prophecy fulfilled. Sign in the heavens in the likeness of things on the earth. There are two tales, and so thus there are two things on the earth. My brother and Fox News. Real simple when you know the basics. And Mormons are still waiting for Jesus, huh? And so this is when the Philistines decided to cause 14th of October 2023, murdering both the father and the first wife by fire. And it was an annular solar eclipse, the ring of fire. Okay? And so then Samson did a great slaughter. Nelson fell on 9/11. Now we get Judah involved. Utah. The Philistines went up and pitched in Utah. They're Danites. But now it's in Judah. So don't try to make it literal. Stick to the major theme, because these are multiple stories being combined together as one narrative, just like the Book of Mormon, just like Christians did to the Bible. And Lehi, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, "Why are you come up against us?" And they answered, "To bind Samson, and we are come up to do to him as he hath done to us," to murder him, to lock him up, indefinitely incarcerate him. And so this is out of chronological order, because the first time was in 2008 and was 6 years. Because of that council, because of the presidents of the church and the prophets, corporate board. I've got their receipt of their attempted murder, the financial receipt, plus the document receipts. Stop changing the definitions, people. Kids. And then the second one was what triggered that committee to threaten my brother to shut me up. That fulfilled the other solar eclipse over Australia. Was only for 9 months. A pregnancy period. Interesting. And so this also corresponds with when they finally get him through Delilah. They fail at this particular time. And it's Delilah that gets introduced into the picture. They send her to him. And they did to the second wife. Purposely. Because I was told that there were like-minded Mormons at the place that I was being sent to. They were purposely trying to set me up with the second wife. So again, prophecy fulfilled, and they aren't intelligent with scriptures. They didn't know they were doing it. That's the whole thing. Mormons don't understand. You're fulfilling prophecy. You just got to make sure it's the good prophecy, but too many times it's the bad one. Mormons don't understand it. They don't understand consequences of doing evil because of the wrong teachings. And a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah, and the lords of the Philistines came up to her. Yeah, that's what they did. That committee. And it was through other people, indirectly to her. But, yep. And so here, 1,100 pieces of silver rather than 20 pieces of silver or 30 pieces of silver for the Judah betrayal price. So yes, Joseph of Egypt is a comparable match that should be footnoted 5b. Nope. There should be a Genesis thing there. They do have Genesis 39:10 and 16a. She pressed him daily with her words. I bet you they did it to the jailman's wife. Yep. Close, but no cigar. But they're trying to claim she's a prostitute. And, oh my God, was it Oaks? I think it was Oaks. Oh my God. Oh my God. Or no, it was his porn. Was Oaks, but it was his porn thing. I think it was trying to claim that men should not look at porn because Joseph ran away from the woman who wanted to have sex with him, and because he didn't want to have sex with her, she then got revenge by claiming he raped her. And so he went to prison, and thus the whole dream thing, and Pharaoh, and blah, blah, blah. Prophecy and revelation. So yes, Oaks, he does not know his scriptures. He's purposely picking and choosing, and then he's twisting the scriptures to fit his agenda for his lies and bondage over you, to prostitute you. And so no, Delilah is not porn, but she is being used as a prostitute. Because the church tells her to be a prostitute for Samson specifically. And so then she guilt trips him. You mock my pain, never do it again. I died that day, and you can die too for all I care. As you wish. And a razor, yeah, the 6-year one. Yeah, no razor touched my head. It's amazing how they knew. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. Prostituting her. Bribing her. And I've seen this with the committee that are ordered by the church. That those who succeed get financially rewarded. Those who fail are financially punished. Right, Todd? He was threatened with his job and his church membership to get me. And he was forced to pay from his own account $2,000 for a lawyer retainer. And the lawyer had the audacity to tell me that my brother was threatened by the church to be excommunicated and fired if I didn't shut up. And so they got his money. They didn't give it back. And then Todd failed and financially lost $2,000. This is the evil of the church, Mormons. When the church tells you to commit a crime, you say no. And if they destroy your life, at least you went down with honor and integrity, Avraham Gileadi. Okay. And so the third and final one, sacrifice to Dagon, the fish god, which was Nelson. I did the videos, did the pictures, was given pictures. As they are celebrating in the temple, our God hath delivered the Sun King, our enemy, into our hands. They were the first cause. See how ignorant they are to do evil and to justify being evil as being good, and victims. And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy and the destroyer of our country. Who's destroying your country, Mormons? Because it ain't me. which slew many of us. I warned you and you didn't listen. Nelson murdered you. Your loved ones, your neighbors, your fellow ward members, those who you didn't know. Nelson murdered them. Oakes confessed to missionaries in the Las Vegas, Nevada mission. He confessed to the mass murder that occurred and the coups of the United States government. And you still blame me because you're in denial. This is the evil of the Danites that murdered Joseph Smith. And so they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. This is the Greek temple, Bruce Armaconki, not a building. Samson is about to cause the fall of the great and abominable church's temple, the Danite temple of Mount Ephraim. This was what day? 22nd, wasn't it? Yeah, 22nd of December, 21st of Kislev. Are these the revelations for the things on earth? We shall wait and see. This is the final year. If it doesn't happen, then we're out of luck. Seriously. Oh my God. Okay. And so, where do they poke out his eyes? Did they already do that? Yes, they did already do that. Avenged for my 2 eyes. Yeah, verse 21. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes. This is the story of Horus. The first day of the war to restore Joseph Smith's order of the latter days, 21st of August 2017. These are solar eclipses, the eyes of Horus. That's why the eyes of Horus that I've been using for you are solar and lunar eclipses. Left eye for moon, right eye for sun. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood. Stars fall from heaven. You need to pay attention. They've all happened. And so this is what they're talking about. They're talking about a solar eclipse with the destruction of the temple for the third and final solar eclipse, where Samson is sacrificed in the Ram-Lamb constellation. That's the Revelation 19 Doctrine and Covenants 58 video I have for you coming up soon, maybe. It'd be nice for the fall to happen, so I don't need to go over this until you get to Zion. But the 8th of April, 2024. 20 years from 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. Gotta pay attention. These guys are clever. These guys are brilliant. Right, Joseph Smith Sr., who had to rewrite the 116 pages. And so, yeah, prophecy fulfilled. I've been praying. When? Please let it happen. I must be avenged of this church for all the abuses they have done to me, for the incarceration that they refuse to acknowledge that they were wrong, refusing to restore the damage that they have done to me, destroying my life, attacking me, trying to murder me, I must be avenged. So here's the month. But not even a sprout yet. So, yeah, takes down the temple. Solar eclipse is on the back of the white horse in Pisces. The fall of the great and abominable church as Jupiter was in Aries. 8 April 2024. The last day of the Jewish year in the religious calendar. And then on the last day of the civil calendar, we had the October 2nd solar eclipse, but it was not over America. This one is over America. This is the final crossroads of the Wagoneer sun god at noonday. The first and the last letters of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. I am the first and the last. I am the author and finisher. I am Alpha and Omega, which in Paleo-Hebrew is Tau, which is actually Chi in Greek, the X. The cross of Jesus. 8 April 2024. Not literal history. Romans didn't use crosses, they used poles. That's why it's important to know the real history so that you can understand the specifics of the prophecies that they're giving you. That's Matthew giving you the day and the hour. But no man knows the day or the hour. Yeah, now you know some other Christian wrote it in. Because Matthew gives you the day and the hour. Okay? So the church is destroyed. That's the prophecy. Babylon, destroyed. Greeks, destroyed. Rome, destroyed. Christians, destroyed. The whole earth, destroyed. They that come shall burn themselves. This valley shall be destroyed. So, and then his burial place is with his father, the high priest Noah, which is Osiris. He judged Israel 20 years. So good. So 2025, 20 years, is 45. That's when the next solar eclipse is over Utah this time. Interesting. 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 So keep that as a thumbnail for you. Or a post-it tab or whatever. Okay, there it is. So now I gotta work on the picture and get it all set up and blah, blah, blah.